Hi, my name is Timothy Hunt, and I'm the director here for Personal Counseling Services. Welcome to Flyers Take Flight. On this episode of Flyers Take Flight, we continue looking at the topic of belonging by interviewing the ever-friendly Miss Dana Cuellar. She serves as the faculty secretary for our English, Humanities, and Math departments, pretty much all of Logan Hall. She serves as the advisor for the LATINX Student Club, as well as serving on several committees on campus. She has been at Sandhills for almost 3 years and hopes to be here for many more. Dana shares that her husband, Jose, and I recently purchased our first home in Cameron. They have a wonderful 9-year-old son named Romeo, who is a huge Fortnite fan. Dana loves spending time with her family, whether it is at the park, relaxing at home, or attending church. Dana does her best to balance her time at work with her family and doing homework. That's right, she's a student in school too. Dana is in her last semester at UNC Pembroke and is expecting to graduate in May 2021 with her bachelor's in sociology. She hopes to continue on her master's degree soon and looks forward to seeing what life has in store for her next. How are you? How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Welcome to Flyers Take Flight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to come and tell our listeners about your story and who you are.
Yep. Happy to be here.
So tell me your Sandhills story. Everybody that's come to our program, they've shared their Sandhills story. What's yours?
Well, I started my job in higher education in 2011 at a different community college. I worked in the financial aid office for about 6 years, and my last position in financial aid was a senior specialist position where I was in charge of a county. And all of Harnett County, different campuses, students, work study, a lot. It was a lot. And so I had put my bachelor's degree on hold. I had my associate degree, had started my transfer degree, but never finished it because I got so busy in my job. And so closer to the end of 2017, I decided that it was better for me and my family to finish my degree and find, different career opportunities. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that with the job that I had because it was so stressful. And I had, a husband and a son, and it was just not a good fit. So I decided to start looking, and we always had a joke in our office, that if we were ever to leave, we were coming to Sandhills Community College because we heard so many good things. And I had a few friends, co-workers that had come from Sandhills Community College to Central Carolina, and they, told us about how wonderful it was to work here. So I said, well, I'm going to start looking. And of course, no one at Sandhills ever leaves, so there's never any positions open.
I continue to hear that.
Yeah. So I looked, and then, I think all timing is perfect. And one day I said, well, let me just check today. And a position had just been posted for the faculty secretary in Logan Hall. And so I, went home, talked to my husband, and I prayed about it. And I said, I don't have, experience as a faculty secretary, but I have tons of financial aid experience. Right. I said, hopefully that'll help me, And in my thinking, I'm like, they're never going to give it to me. I don't know anybody there. I've never been a secretary, So I said, I'm just going to, apply and we'll see. And so I applied, and I was called for the interview, came and interviewed, and then a few weeks later they called and offered me the position, and that's how I ended up here. And it's been such a huge blessing in my life, personally, professionally. And I get a lot of people to ask, like, why would you go from a senior specialist position to a secretary position? And I said, well, for many reasons, but, I'm really glad that I did, because even if it's just a secretary position, I've had so many more opportunities here to do a lot more than just a secretary. So that's how I ended up here, and I'm glad I did. And like everyone else, I don't know if that'll ever leave.
Let me ask this question. First 6 months here, did you pinch yourself?
I did. I always tell the story that my first day here was right after a big snowstorm. So the campus was full of snow. I started here January 8th. So it was right after the huge snowstorm in 2018.
Wow.
And so it was like a winter wonderland when I got here, on campus. I walked on campus. Susan Grine set up a tour. So she toured me around the campus, and I could not believe how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
With the snow, without the snow,
Yeah.
the people. It was surreal.
Yeah.
It was definitely, one of those like you see in the movies, but you don't, you hear music playing, but it was very surreal. But I was really happy to be here.
Yeah. I had so my first day when Wendy, it felt like I was kissing babies and shaking hands the whole day.
Yes.
But she walked me down to the gardens, and I remember biting the inside of my jaw like, you gotta be kidding me! They got gardens here?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, oh my God, I can do therapy out here with people. I'm like, wow, it's gonna be amazing. And when she was telling me about, people doing yoga, and we just walked around, and I was like, where has this place been? Why hadn't I heard more about it? But yeah, I remember feeling that exact same way, like, wow, this is be a community college.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, it was very seeing people smile, actually say good morning to you. Not that where I was, it wasn't like that. It was just a different atmosphere. And here it's like you could smell the trees, smell the grass, smell the crisp of, when it was so cold. But it was like a breath of fresh air to be here.
Mm-hmm. I remember, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was in charge of getting me paperwork to make sure I got the Hep B shot. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, how long have you been here? And he told me, I think it was like 22 years. Mm-hmm. And I was like, really? I was like, do you enjoy it here? I was like, man, I love it.
Yeah.
This is the best place to work.
Yeah.
And I had enough folks that said that, and I was like, this kind of feels like nobody's miserable. And then I started distrusting it, like,
calm before the storm.
yeah, like, what's missing? Shanika and I talked about that in her interview about how I went to her office at one point and I said, is this real? Like, are people really like this here? And she was like, yeah, you can trust it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I've been hook, line, sinker ever since.
Well, my first week, Susan Grimes gave me a list, and she said, here it was a list of maybe 20 individuals from campus. And she said, I want you to meet with each one of these individuals. They're from different departments. I think she picked like one from different departments. And she said, I want you to meet with them, take a list of questions, just talk to them, say, hey, introduce yourself, and say, what do you do for campus? That way you have an idea of who to contact for different things. So I did, and I remember meeting with Shanika, and, asking her the same thing and saying, okay, my first question I asked everybody was, how long have you been here? And when she said, she had recently joined, but she said, but I feel like I've been here forever. And she said, and I think I'm going to be here forever. And so my favorite question to ask everyone was, how long have you been here? And same thing, I heard 20, 30, 40 years. Miss Levada, I think, has been here for a really long time,
Yeah.
But the same thing, I feel like everybody's just so happy to be here.
Yeah.
And there's not been a day since I've started where I have dreaded coming to work or have been, I drive 30 minutes, and I've told, people here, like, I would drive an hour if I had to, to get here, because it's always a great day,
My first month, I got in a car accident here, and it was because I was so giddy in the car that I was reaching for my shades and like shaking and like singing and dancing in the car, and I didn't realize that I was coming up real close on that stop sign down here on Airport Road, and I slammed into it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, luckily I get here a little bit before 7 in the morning, so there's no one here. But I think that would probably happen to me too.
Yeah, well, it was 5 o'clock in the day. Kelly was like, what happened? I was like, I was just really excited about it. Had such a good day at work and paid attention, and the sun got in my eye, and bam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up buying that thing because I had to replace it. Yeah. So yeah, we belong here at Sandhills.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Tell me more about your position and how does your job help you to help students, the faculty that you work with, staff members, to feel like they belong here? How are you encouraging that?
Yeah, so with my job as a faculty secretary, I work with the English, Humanities, and Math departments. And my job is to not only assist the faculty, but assist the students too. So I try to, walk around the building, first day of classes, just walk around and say, tell students who look like they're looking for their classroom, like, do you need help? Do you need to find your classroom? What classroom you're looking for? What instructor you're looking for? So my goal at the beginning when I first started was to learn the classrooms, because Logan Hall is a little bit confusing. And so I try to learn, where the classrooms were, who taught in what classrooms, where everyone's office is, their names, so that I could help the students, get to where they needed to go. And so even, day to day now, just being available to the students, I put up signs in Logan to say, hey, if you need anything, if you've lost something, if you have questions in advising, come and see me. I may not have all the questions, but I'll get you to where you need to go. So just try to make myself available to the students, to the faculty. I assist some of the instructors, setting up their classrooms, and so I meet a lot of the students that way. And I've had some students who will stop by my office just to say hi. I've gotten to know them, about their lives or children. It's been a very interesting experience, because when I was in student services, I got the chance to do that. Meet a lot of the students from when they started to when they graduated. And when I transitioned jobs, I said, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. But little did I know I'd be able to do that here, and I think a lot more. I assist with advising, so when brand new students come to Sandhills and we take them over to Logan to get registered, I try to meet them, say, if you have classes here in Logan, here's where my office is, if you have any questions or you need help, and it's been interesting. And I think students to see, because I get a lot of questions like, well, what do you teach, or how do you teach if you're so young, just to try to get them to where they feel comfortable, and say, hey, I'm, and I was taking classes here too at some point, and I said, I'm a student here too, a lot of times we're in the same classes, so just getting them to feel comfortable more so with me. And then that way if they have, issues. I had a girl one time come in my office, crying, and I was able to just sit and talk to her and say, hey, I'm a student too, I'm going through a lot of things too. You have people here on campus you can talk to, and we were able to get her, the help that she needed. But the fact that she felt comfortable enough coming into my office made me feel really good.
Yeah. It speaks to your personality and who you are. Yeah. The times that I've been able to, I didn't know what you did, but I knew your face because I've met you a couple of times. But now that I'm listening to you share, it's like, that's exactly what I saw you doing, was walking around and greeting people and helping students.
Yeah, and then even, with my job there, like, I've had the opportunity to join different committees, the diversity committee, the Hispanic community outreach committee. Right now I'm a part of a committee with Dr. Dempsey, and it's, a lot of people say, oh, you're the secretary, but I've had a lot of opportunities here, different, parts on campus, working with student services, working with financial aid, working with diversity. Like, I've just had, it's been very eye-opening, and I'm still in school currently, and it's helped me learn even more with a lot of the classes that I'm taking. I've had the opportunity to talk to different people on campus, and so I try to just, help in as much as I can with student government, with the different clubs. I'm the LATINX advisor as well, so I'm trying to set that club up and get it going. Had the opportunity to go to different conferences to learn more about Latinx and how to help our Latin communities here. So I've just been a little bit of everywhere, but it's been fun.
Out of all those opportunities that you've had, if you had to pick one that you would say has been like kind of biting the inside of your cheek, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, what one would you share?
I would say a combination of the Hispanic Community Outreach Committee and our Diversity Committee, because, growing up, I always think about, I don't know if you ever watched the movie Selena, and where her dad says, it's hard to be a Mexican American because you have to be Mexican enough for the Mexicans and American enough for the Americans,
Wow. Yeah.
And I've always thought about that, even throughout like high school and college, but I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to be a part of the Hispanic Community Outreach Committee because, touching the lives of the Hispanic communities here, a lot of times with, tradition and things, they don't necessarily know all the opportunities that they have here.
Right.
And a lot of times with fear of, with the immigration status or, they may think, oh, I don't have the funds to go to college, but just knowing that we as a college, can do our part to say, here's what we have, here's how we can help you, here's the opportunities that we can offer you here if you, we want you to feel comfortable enough to come to us and say, here's my situation, what can I do, And I think that has grown on me, and I think, with the whole COVID situation now, it's been hard to go out to the community, but I'm hoping that, we can get that back and going, because there's so much going on, I think, in the world now that, a little bit of brightness from our college, I think, can help our local community a lot.
Before COVID hit, how many students did you have participating in LATINX?
Well, our student club, we've had probably around 20 members. About 15 of them were active, and helping. A lot of them, had full-time classes, were working, so they couldn't attend as much of our meetings, but they helped us out with events. They helped us out with the Fall Fest, sprinkling, things like that. And we were working with student services of going out to the high schools. That was kind of our next step this year, but of course that kind of changed a little bit. We had a Latinx event last year, and we had probably around 300 to 400 people come up that day. And it was amazing, because even after that, I had students contact me and say, hey, we came to your event, but I have questions, and I've had parents too that came to our event and said, my child's not coming to Sandhills, they're wanting to go to a different university, but can you still, help us? I'm like, sure, So I think it opened up, or it at least had that spark, to say, oh, there's something more, and a lot of times I think, with the Latin culture, parents have it in their mind, like, oh, you have to go to work, you have to work. We came to the United States to work, so school isn't as important.
Right.
So I think that, doing all that here and being a part of this committee has given me the opportunity to share my, story and my passion for education. I think it's really important, not only for the Hispanic communities, but especially for the Hispanic communities, But yeah.
So, essentially, you are helping our Hispanic students to feel a sense of belonging here at Sandhills.
Yeah.
Now, who was Dana for you when you were growing up?
Well, growing up, and I think in high school it was really hard. I moved to Harnett County probably at the end of middle school. So, I started my 8th grade year in Harnett County. So being the new girl, being Mexican American, I didn't realize at that time how hard it was, because I remember, trying to do the best that I could in school, get straight A's, join these clubs, be a part of, the smart people classes, and my sister and I, because, we were both, trying to do as much as we could in school, we got a lot of pushback, I guess, from the Hispanics, because we weren't Mexican enough, or because we thought we wanted to be, we were too white or too American or too, smart. So I remember joining the soccer team. I didn't play soccer. I never played soccer, but I joined the soccer team to have Mexican friends, or Latin American friends. And then I joined Beta Club to have, other friends, and it was really hard. And I think, thinking back on it, like, I tried so hard to fit in with both groups that I couldn't be myself, and that was hard, and I thought it was just me, and talking to my sister throughout the years, she felt the same thing.
Yeah.
And I always thought, what if it wasn't just us two? There's probably more, but I think it's really important to be yourself and know who you are. And looking back on it now, I wish I hadn't. I wish I would have just done my, me.
Yep.
And, belong where I belong,
Yep.
I think that, especially in high school, a lot of the kids do things out of character to
Yep.
fit in,
Yep.
and like I said, I played soccer, and I never liked it. And after middle school, I never played it again, and I always thought, like, why did I do that? Why did I have to do that to fit in, And it was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. But I have come a long way, and I know myself now, and I do what makes me happy and makes my family happy, and I'm happy about it.
Good. When I went off to ECU, being from Robinson County, a native community, we're used to living in community and very tribal. And so when I got up there, that's the first thing I started looking for was, where's the nuns? Where's the other Indians at? Because I don't recognize all these other folks and don't have that connection. And so as soon as I found them, it was like this instant, like, hey, we're from the house, we get it, we understand each other, I don't have to code switch. But same thing, very quickly, like, Tim, why are you going to hang out with your white friends?
Mm-hmm.
Or Tim, why are you going to hang out with your black friends? And it was like, they're just friends. Like, I don't look at them as like,
right.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have to switch and be these two different people. And I remember having that same thought of like, I'm just me.
Mm-hmm.
I just love people, and like, I'm going to hang out with y'all, and I'm going to hang out with other people. You can deal with it, or you cannot. Yeah.
And I think, belonging is when you share the same passion the same passion for whatever it is, And I think when I came here, to Sandhills, my passion is education and sharing the opportunities, and I see that everywhere here. I see that everyone who works here, who attends here, who's a part of Sandhills in any way, shares that same passion for the students, for education, for opportunities. It's in our core values, opportunities. And for me, I've had so many opportunities that I'm grateful for, and I think that every student should have that same opportunity that I had.
You hit hit the nail on the head. There was a incident that we had here when I first got here, where we got called over to Van Dusen, me and DJ and Dwight, to just check out a student situation that had happened. And the instructor that had called me over when it was finished, we were walking back to my office, and I told her, I was like, the one thing that I'm learning about this place is that everybody is passionate about students, and they really genuinely want to help, not from a sense of enabling or anything like that, but just genuinely just want to help and see people succeed. And you're right about that. I see that with Taylor, I see that with everybody that I come into contact with. We're all passionate about helping students to succeed, or creating a program that will benefit students or benefit faculty and staff. Tell me more about your passion.
Well, I started, with my associate degree, and, fresh out of high school, I had all these dreams, of going to college, doing the whole college experience, going to get my bachelor's degree, my PhD, and, a lot of times you make decisions, that change those dreams a little bit, or, push them off for a little bit. And so when I started college, I got pregnant with my son. I was 19. I was working at a manufacturing plant, working second shift. So I would go to school 8 to 2, and then go to work from 3:30 to midnight every night, And I did this for about 6 months. And when I was about 6 months, I interviewed at a position at Central Carolina Community College and was hired, And of course you think, oh, I'm 19, I'm pregnant, they're not going to hire me, And they did, and I ended up, I think at first it was supposed to be a part-time job, and I ended up staying there for 6 years.
Wow.
So, getting my associate degree, and so I think education is really, really important. And I think, a lot of times people fall into those, oh, well, I got pregnant, I have a baby, college is going to have to just wait. And I worked full-time. son, I went to school a lot of times, part-time. So it took me a lot longer to get my my associate degree, my transfer degree, and then now my bachelor's degree. But I think it's just so important to keep it going, And I talk to a lot of people now and share my story. Karen Clark, who teaches ACA, she asked me to come talk to her classes. Yes. And when she said, "Well, can you come share your story?" And I'm like, "My story? Like, my story is not any different than anyone else's." And she said, "Well, exactly. Exactly why I want you to share it." And so when I did, I went to her classes and I shared my story and I said, "Hey, I was a single mom for a long time. I struggled working an hourly job, struggled to, buy diapers for my son. There was a lot of, dark moments there, and times where I didn't, have lunch. I didn't eat, and I got a lot of support from my parents, but I didn't want to rely on it. So I tried to do as much as I could on my own, and it was hard, a lot of lying to my parents, like, "Oh, I got it. No, I got it. I'll figure it out." And so sharing that story, there was a lot of, people in the class that had the same story. And, I said, I'm still not done. Like, I'm not done with my education. I'm not done, but I'm going to keep going, no matter what happens, And during that time, I met my husband, and it changed my life because he has been such a support, for me and my son. And it's been an experience that it's not going to stop me, but, and it's going to keep me going. But I think education is so important.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, in your life, you should just keep it going as far as you want to go and not be pressured into what people tell you. Because I got a lot of, comments, I guess, from, my son's dad's family or even my family to say, "Oh, school needs to wait. Like, your number one focus is your son." And in my thinking, he is my number one focus, and that's why I need to stop working, jobs getting paid an hour or working 2 or 3 jobs. I worked at, Ruby Tuesday as a waitress while working at Central Carolina, while going to school to make it, to make it. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about my job and about education, and opportunities, because I think if we can plant that seed in students, when they're still in high school, they won't make those decisions, and like my mom used to say, "Well, I used to tell you all these things, you never listened," and it's not until it happens to you or until, it impacts you that you listen, but I think that if students or high school students hear it from someone like me, it'll make a difference.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm so passionate about education.
Your story serves as a model. Like, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And I hope it does, and I hope that all those, like I said, dark times, at least help someone, because those dark times help me, help me get to where I am today. And it's not where I'm going because I got a lot more to do, but I've definitely come a long way, little by little, step by step, but I'm here.
Lots of times people don't really want to talk about the dark times, but we really are made in those dark times. We find out what our strengths are, our roots, how we can navigate life, because it's not always sunny.
Sure, perfect. No.
Yeah, it's not always perfect. And look at what your dark times did for you. We're benefiting from those dark moments when you were working. I bet you sometimes, I've told people this before, I used to wait tables too. And sometimes being a therapist feels like being a server.
Yeah.
How are you doing today? What can I help you with? Would you like some more tea? You don't get to say that, but it's still that whole attending and having a servant's heart, whether you're waiting tables or whether you're serving as a faculty secretary or as a therapist. It's still that servant heart that you're taking, those skills, that servant heart. Taking that everywhere, If you had to go back in time and do anything different, what would you change?
I would definitely change going straight to college. Finishing college first, getting my associate degree, my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, my PhD, and then having kids, because I feel like, my son's 8, or he just turned 9, and he is such a great kid, and he's so supportive, and he helps me more than I think I help him, But I feel like his first few years were rough because I was always either at work or, I try to do my homework, or put him to sleep so that I can do my homework. And I feel like I missed a lot of that time with him. And looking back, I think I would have much rather focused on school than have him so he could have all my attention. And I would probably have started working at Sandhills a long time ago. long time ago. But I think, I wouldn't say that I regret anything. I just think I would have done things differently, done things a little bit different. But school, I think I would have rather finished it first.
Where are you at in doing that now?
So I am finishing up my classes at UNC Pembroke this semester for sociology.
Go Braves.
This is my last semester, technically. So I finished up my classes for sociology this December, but I was shy 2 credits to reach the residency for UNC Pembroke, where you have to have 30 credit hours to graduate from there, and I only have 28 because everything else transferred. So I have to take another class in the spring just to meet the residency requirements, but then I'll be done. And I'm thinking, debating, talking to people, asking opinions about whether to jump straight into my master's or wait. I want to get my master's definitely, but
what are you looking at?
I don't know. My bachelor's is in sociology. My associate degree was in human services. So I don't know whether I want to, get my master's in sociology or get it in something different. I was talking to my sister because she got her bachelor's degree in marine engineering, and then she didn't go straight into her master's. This was a few years back, and now she's wanting to get her master's in business administration. So she said, because she said if I would have gone straight into it, I would have got my master's in engineering, and that's not what I like. She said, I like to do it, I like to study it, but that's not what I want to do. So that's kind of set in the back of my mind, because she asked me, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I've always wanted to study law. I like crime. I like to, study like criminal justice. I like sociology. I like the study of people. And there's just so many things that I like that I can't pick right now, And so I think I'm gonna hold off and probably wait about a year or so, figure out exactly what it is I want to do, where I want to be. Not where I want to be because I want to be here, but exactly what I want to do here.
Right.
Dean Stroman asked me the other day, well, if you were to stay here, what would you want to do? She said, because I know the secretary, you're not going to want to do that forever. And I said, well, I wouldn't mind any position here, but if I had to choose, I would want to do something in student services. And she said, student services, that's so stressful, And I said,
yes, it is.
It is very stressful, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And I loved student services, And I think, having the student services experience and then the faculty side experience, I like the student services because it's more in line with the students. And it's where the students see a lot of the opportunities. So I don't know. I definitely want to get my master's degree. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I really enjoy the sociology and learning about just different groups of people and how diverse we are, Right. And a lot of people think, diversity has to do with race and ethnicity, and it's so much more. And I think using that knowledge and my experience, I think student services is kind of where my focus is.
You could easily see how it will encapsulate all those things. When you think about diversity and you're serving on the committee, what does that mean to you?
So it definitely means something different than what I used to think. I, in line with everyone else, used to think, it's, race or it's ethnicity or, economic disparities. But, I myself have had, experiences, working in financial aid where people would look at me and they're like, she doesn't know anything because she's so young. Or because I'm a female. Or because I'm Hispanic. Or, you don't know a lot of times why people feel a certain way about you. And so for me, with those experiences where I've had, people say things to me or think that I don't know anything because I'm so young, made me realize that, there's so many different people, and they're so diverse, whether it's because of age or gender or ethnicity or their race or their economic, status. There's just so many different groups, and I think that diversity is embracing the differences. And I went to a conference not too long ago, and they played the song Imagine. I think when they played it was by Pentatonics, but it was sang by the Beatles, I think, or John Lennon. Yeah. And so just listening to that song, like, imagine, there's no countries, there's no religion, there's no, everyone's just gets along because they get along. Because, instead of looking at what makes you different, look at what makes you the same, and what similarities you share, and what likes that you share. Just, I think diversity is embracing that, embracing the differences, embracing how you're different from, the people that you talk to every day, but being able to share those similarities and embrace those too.
I like your definition, because that's exactly what we need more of. We need people just to embrace
each other for who they are, and not what makes you different.
Right.
And I think that's a worldwide thing, and listening to the song, the lyrics, you think, oh, that will never happen, but I think if every person made one change, and in the committee that we're in now with Dr. Dempsey, Shanika said that, she said, what if everyone, who's in the room could think about one change that they could make in their day-to-day jobs here at Sandhills, how big of an impact that could be, and then from that committee it went to students and to all faculty and staff. That could make a huge change, and it's that ripple effect, but it's a positive ripple effect. And so I think that diversity is so important in our day-to-day jobs here.
What would you recommend or suggest to our listeners about making just one change so that we can embrace our Hispanic students and community more here at the college?
I think just learning, knowledge. A lot of times we lack the knowledge to know what each group is, going through. I've had, conversations about DACA, and then I get the response, well, what is DACA? And I'm like, DACA has been on the news for a long time. There's so many, things going on in the local community about DACA, but no one knows what DACA is or what it means, and I think just knowledge, just having more knowledge, sharing more knowledge, finding more opportunities to more conferences, more workshops, just to say, hey, here's what DACA is, here's how it's influencing the families or the students here, here is how we can help those students. I think it's, go ahead.
Will you explain, because I'm hearing somebody going down the road like, well, what is it?
Well, DACA, it stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So it's for children, I guess, who were brought over to the United States by their parents illegally. So this is, parents who brought over their 2-year-old when they were 2, and they have lived elementary school, through middle school, through high school here, who graduated high school, who are ready to go to college and find out, oh, I'm undocumented. I can't, I don't have the same opportunities, even though I've lived my whole life pretty much here, I've had friends from high school who didn't find out they were undocumented until they were ready to apply for scholarships and, asked for their social security number for their parents, and they didn't have it. And so their dreams, their goals were changed. Either they couldn't do it anymore, or they had to find, extra funding, because a student who's undocumented, a student who's under DACA, is charged out-of-state tuition. So that's 3 times as much as anyone else.
Wow.
3 times as much. Wow. So not only, if you think about it, community college, it was not that expensive, but to pay $3,000 for 1 semester.
Yeah, that's expensive.
That's a lot. It's like what you would pay at a university, and you don't get financial aid. They don't qualify for federal aid. Only some, maybe 5 or 6 states, I think, in the United States have state aid that they could get, and of course North Carolina is not one of those. So our students here can't get state aid. They don't qualify for a lot of the scholarships because you need a social security number to qualify for those. They have now what's called the employer sponsorship. So they work for certain companies here in North Carolina. The companies can sponsor the students and they get in-state tuition. But the student doesn't get in-state tuition. The company gets in-state tuition rate for that student. So I've had, when I was working in financial aid, I had students who worked for McDonald's, and so McDonald's would pay their in-state tuition rate, pay their in-state tuition to the college, and then the worker would pay it back, as they could, or it would be a scholarship to them. Different companies do it different ways, but they have to find all these other ways to get to the same place that anyone else is, and DACA is one thing that I am, also passionate about because it's not their fault, regardless of, what their parents did. And I know, coming to the U.S. is illegally is a crime, but that was their parents' decision. I would never want my son to suffer from a decision that I made, a bad decision that I made. So it's one of those things that I really hold dear to my heart, is DACA, because I have a lot of friends, and a lot of friends who, tell me, oh, you're so lucky, and I feel privileged in a way, because my mom, would tell me, well, you never had to go through any of that. You never, and I feel bad in a way where I'm like, I feel like what I have, everyone else should have the opportunity to have too, because my parents came here illegally. They ended up, doing the paperwork to become residents, and now they're citizens, but that could have been me. That could have been me. Me, my sister, my brother, we're all in college, but our lives could have been a lot different, and because of my parents,
It's almost like survivor's guilt.
Yeah. And it's definitely, one thing that I sometimes, feel like I want to cry about. I wish I could do more. I wish I had the power to, change it. And I think that we do in a way, even if we don't have the power, we're not the president, so we don't have the power to stop it, or, but we have the power to share the knowledge that we have, the opportunities that we have to those students, because, we have a lot of DACA students here at Sandhills Community College, but they're here because we have people here that care enough to say, hey, here's scholarships, here's what we have that you can do. Jonathan Garrison is amazing, and I think he shares the same passion, and he has, we talk a lot, and we say, we just share that same passion, and so we talk about all the different things. When I find things online, I'm like, hey, look, there's a scholarship, send it to him, or he'll send it to me, or, because we both have, groups of people that we, try and help, and with him, now being, the Promise program, and I think Promise program is wonderful because a lot of the students in high school who are DACA students can get college credits for free, while they're in the Promise program. So it's so important, I think, to share those opportunities with our community, because we have a large Hispanic, community. And when I came here, I noticed there wasn't, in comparison to, Central Carolina Community College, that they have 3 counties, Harnett, Lee, Chatham County. So Chatham County and Lee County are huge with Hispanics, And so I came here and I'm like, oh, there must not be any Hispanics around. Where there are. It's our duty, it's our responsibility to do that outreach and to get to them. They're not going to come to us because they don't know. We have to do what we can to get to them. And I think we are doing what we can.
Yeah. Well, how, with Jonathan's program and some of the other programs here on campus, how are we doing with DACA?
I think we're doing well. I think, especially because we have such a big, donor funds, a big foundation. I think we are doing well with providing those opportunities. I know a few students, off the top of my head, that have just thrived here because of those opportunities. I think we can definitely do more. I think we always have room to do more. And I think we are. And I think with our job with diversity, we're getting more people who are willing to help, because we started out with, I think, a committee of like 10, and now we have like a committee of 20,
Wow,
so it's getting bigger. We have, more people who hear about it or who came to our Hispanic Day event. We've even had people from the community. The manager from Felipe's Way contacted me and said, "Hey, I would like to help. What can I do?" And I have to say, "Okay, well, let me see what we can do." But we're happy for you to join our committee. We have an advisory board for our committee, and the advisory board is made up of people from our community. So from different churches, from different Hispanic churches, from different Hispanic restaurants, from the Moore County schools, from the ESL teachers. I think we're doing really well with outreach. I think we can always do better, but I think we're doing really well.
Dana, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you about joining and wanting to partner with your efforts, how do they do that? This is a shameless plug moment.
They can contact me via email at cuellar@sandhills.edu. They can call me, they can stop by, send me a message on Facebook. I've had students send me messages on Facebook. Or just contact anyone here on campus and they can get in contact with me. But I think once we just have them, because I've had a student who came to our, event who has stopped by my office. So I helped him get apply for classes, get registered, everything, because I'm his FAFSA. She told her, I think his mom told her sister, so I got his cousin in, just by word of mouth. But I think it all just starts with contacting me. Contact me and I will do everything in my power to get you from point A to point B to graduation. From, applying to Sandhills to graduation. Not by myself, of course, with help of everybody on campus, but just, contacting me, getting them here.
I'm sitting here, excuse me, thinking about everything that you've shared and how you are speaking to the young mothers, the Hispanic community, and people that are looking for passion. That's what your story is saying to me, and how, excuse me, let me take a sip of coffee, and how this platform, this podcast, is going to sow seeds, because people are going to listen to your story, and you've educated me on something that I didn't know anything about. I never heard of that, Decca. I don't watch the news because of what I do. I can't take it all the time. But thank you for coming and sharing what you've shared thus far, and how your story is going to continue and sow seeds for our students, for our faculty. You're making our campus a better place. Because you're living out your truth.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I would, take any opportunity to share my story, to share what I've learned, to share what I want to learn. And I think we have a campus full of people with stories. And I think it's really important because I've been influenced by a lot of people on this campus. And if, I saw, one of the questions that I get asked is, who influences you, and I could sit here all day of names from all over campus, that I have talked to, and I think a lot of people just don't realize that we work here, but we're people with lives, with stories, with, backgrounds, and I think if we're able to share that, it's really important.
That really is a good question, and now I want to know the answer. If you had to name one.
I could speak all day.
If you had to just name one, who would it be?
I would say Susan Grine, because she was the first person I think that, I came in contact with and who really changed my life in many ways. I don't think I would have finished school, as fast as I did, and when I did, if it wasn't for her. Because she came to me a few days after starting and she said, "Well, where are you at with your education?" Had nothing to do with my job. Where are you at with your education? And I told her, and she said, "So you're almost done with your transfer degree?" I said, "Yeah." I said, I was working on it over there, but, I kind of took a break. She's like, "No, you're starting, this," I think it was summer semester when I started. And she said, "We're going to get you registered. We're going to get you going. You're going to finish." And I did. And she has just been amazing, an amazing role model. And, I had I kind of fell into the same thing where she felt so intimidating. You know, she was so smart and so educated, and I was like, oh my gosh, she made me nervous. You know, when I first started here, but then, you know, when she shared her story, it made me realize, like, I'm a lot like her. You know, she's a lot like me. We're completely different people, but we've shared a lot of the same things. And so she has definitely, you know, she's such a strong person. And a lot of times when I'm going through things, I'm like, you know, I can't even compare it. Like, you know, she's definitely been, I think, one of the most influential people in my life, not just professionally, but personally. Personally, she sees me, you know, not me the secretary or me the, you know, Sandhills worker, but she sees me. And I think that's important when feeling like you know, belong somewhere, is to be seen and to be understood.
Oh my God.